He's running.
Yeah, but he said the man, Mr. Nick, said that the boilers downstairs are both working.
I've got to. He's coming tomorrow, so I'll explain. I'll explain what the problem is.
Something is working already, isn't it?
No, it just warmed up outside.
He said he has to bleed these
Oh, it hasn't been done yet.
radiators.
But there's more. There's more to it than that.
To open that valve back there. He said he's gonna do that tomorrow.
Okay. So we see from the candles that Aaron lit that tonight is the 5th night of Hanukkah. Actually, the menorah, we're looking at the menorah from behind, so we're projecting the proper angle out onto the street, but here we're backwards from this angle. So apropos of the 5th night of Hanukkah, I would like to read a story that most of you have already heard about the 5th night, but the repetition is very good. This isn't a Lubavitcher organization, but this story encapsulates really the key tenets of Lubavitcher Hasidus, and so it's worth our time. Okay. So this story is told by Rabbi Moshe Chaim Greenwald, and he notes that although I, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Greenwald, am not a Lubavitcher, I feel it is important for people to share their personal stories about the Rebbe so that we and our children can know more about the great spiritual presence that lived among us. We always kept this story within the family, but now after the passing of the holy leader, I felt obligated to make it public. May the merit of our belief in Tzaddikim bring us closer to the redemption that the Rebbe worked his whole life to bring. My father, Rabbi Avraham Tzvi Greenwald, was born in Lodz, Poland in 1911. His father died when he was only 8 years old, leaving his mother alone with 7 young orphans. She sent my father to live with her cousin, Rabbi Menachem Zemba, a famous Talmudic scholar in pre-war Warsaw. Rabbi Zemba raised him devotedly, took responsibility for his education. And even studied with him personally. So I told you that Rabbi Menachem Zemba, he was one of the Gedolei of the previous generation, one of the giants of the previous generation. He himself was in the Warsaw ghetto, and so they had this giant posech in the ghetto with them, and they asked the Shaila, so what should we do? Should we fight the Germans or not? And he paskined that they need to stand up and do battle. On the 14th of Kislev, 5689, 1928, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson married Rebbetzin Chaim Mushka, the daughter of the 6th Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzhak Schneerson. The Great Wedding in Warsaw, the Great Wedding it was called, in Warsaw, was attended by the Hasidic masters and great leaders of Polish Jewry, including Rabbi Zemba. Rabbi Zemba was quite taken by the Lubavitcher Rebbe's new son-in-law and wanted to meet with him personally. He arranged to visit the Rebbe at his hotel, taking along my father, who was then 17. The two scholars had a lively discussion on many issues throughout the Talmud. Rabbi Zemba was very impressed and spoke about their encounter for many years afterwards. When Rabbi Zemba was ready to leave, the Rebbe suddenly turned to my father and said, "There are only a few days left until Hanukkah. Do you know why it is customary in Hasidic shuls to celebrate and make special parties on the 5th night of Hanukkah?" My father was not aware of this custom or of its reason, nor was Rabbi Zemba, who looked intently at the Rebbe, waiting for his answer. The Rebbe continued, still addressing my father. "It happens that the 5th day of Hanukkah can never occur on a Shabbos. This represents great darkness, such that even the great holiness of Shabbat cannot penetrate. The 5th candle symbolizes that the light of Hanukkah can illuminate even such intense darkness. This is the duty of every Jew, wherever he may find himself, be it in Warsaw, in Moscow, or in London, to illuminate even the greatest darkness." Years passed. The tragedy of the Holocaust hit Polish Jewry. My father went through its horrors, first in the ghetto and then in the death camps. His first wife and 5 children were killed in front of his eyes. At the end of the war, he was still alive, thank God, but broken in body and spirit. For 2 years, he circulated among the DP camps, looking for surviving family members. Alas, all of his sisters and brothers and family had been murdered. In 1948, he emigrated and sailed to America, settling in Philadelphia, where his uncle, Moshe Chaim Greenwald, for whom I am named, lived. His uncle, an Amshinover Chassid, who had moved there before World War I, helped him with open arms and tried to rehabilitate him and helped him start a new life after his terrible Holocaust trauma. His uncle and the Amshinover Rav pressured my father to meet my mother, who also lived through the war. My mother, a daughter of Reb Zusha Zinkowitz of Krakow, a chassid of the Alexander Rebbe, had managed to escape with her sister at the beginning of the war, wandering from country to country until they came to Canada. They were raised by their great uncle, Reb Koppel Schwartz, a prestigious Jew in Toronto. My father needed encouragement and confidence for his second marriage, so Reb Koppel traveled with him to New York to receive the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe's blessing. Reb Koppel told the Rebbe that my father was a Holocaust survivor who lost his whole family. The Rebbe's eyes began to tear. He then blessed my father to build a family and live a long life. Before leaving, my father mentioned that he had attended the Rebbe's daughter's wedding in Warsaw. The Rebbe's eyes lit up and he said, "Since you're at my son-in-law's wedding, it would be proper to stop in and visit him too." Reb Koppel and my father went downstairs to the Rebbe's office. To my father's great surprise, the Rebbe instantly recognized him from his visit almost 20 years before. The Rebbe asked him about Rabbi Zemba's last days. He heard that he had been killed in the Warsaw Ghetto uprising, but did not know the details. After my father related all that he knew, the Rebbe said, "Since my father-in-law, the Rebbe, told you to come to visit me, I must tell you a Torah concept. We are now in the month of Kislev, close to Hanukkah. It happens that the 5th day of Hanukkah can never occur on a Shabbos. This represents a great darkness, the 5th candle that symbolizes the great light of Hanukkah, which can illuminate even such an intense darkness. That is why the joy on this night is so immense. It is the duty of every Jew, wherever he may find himself, be it in New York or Philadelphia or London, to illuminate even the greatest darkness." My father was stunned. The exact same insight came back to him, word for word, as the Rebbe had told him 20 years before in the Warsaw hotel. After getting married, my father served as a teacher and rabbi for the Adas Israel congregation in Washington Heights, New York. My sister and I were born there. When I was 5 years old, we moved to Toronto, where Reb Koppel had found him a position in the Satmar Yeshiva. My younger brother was born there. Although my father's attitudes became close to those of Satmar, and he sent us to study in schools and yeshivas close to their approach, he still respected the Rebbe and always spoke of him to us with the highest regard. Before my marriage in 1968, my father said that although we were not Lubavitcher Hasidim, he wanted me to receive the Lubavitcher Rebbe's blessing before my wedding, just as he had done before his. It was not easy to schedule an appointment with the Rebbe without waiting for months because of his busy schedule. My father pleaded with the Rebbe's secretariat to allow me in for a blessing until finally it was agreed to let us in before the wedding, but only for a blessing, no other discussion. On the designated day, we flew in from Toronto. My father was excited at the prospect of seeing the Rebbe again. There were many people waiting for their turn with the Rebbe that evening, and by the time we entered the Rebbe's room, it was early morning. It was the first time I saw the Rebbe, and he made a big impression on me. My father gave the Rebbe a note with my name and my bride's, requesting that we merit to build a Jewish family. Before even looking at the note, the Rebbe looked at my father and smiled. He said, "It is now more than 20 years since you came here. It is high time, especially since my father-in-law sent you to me." My father stood shocked, unable to answer. Meanwhile, the secretary was knocking on the door that we should hurry, but the Rebbe motioned with his hand to dismiss the interruption. Opening the letter, he gave us his blessings to build a home, and he also blessed my father with a long, good life. The Rebbe said to my father, "Just as you attended my wedding, so may God give you strength to attend your grandchild's wedding." My father was very moved by this blessing. Before going out, my father requested to ask the Rebbe a question. We told the secretary that we would come in for just a blessing, but I would nevertheless like to ask an important question that has been bothering me, should the Rebbe permit me to do so. The Rebbe smiled and said, "Since the Rebbe sent you to me, I must answer all the questions." At that point, the secretary began knocking on the door again to interrupt, and again the Rebbe motioned us to ignore it. My father continued, "Living in a Satmar community, I often hear complaints and criticism about Lubavitch. How can you associate with people who are secular, irreligious, and against the Torah? How can you put tefillin on with people who are not observant? The verse in Psalm states, 'Whoever hates you, O God, I will hate.'" My father apologized profusely, saying he didn't mean to criticize, but only to understand himself and in order to be able to explain to others. The Rebbe answered, "Suppose the daughter of one of your zealous neighbors were to abandon Judaism, Chatz v'Sholom. What would he do? Would he try to bring her back to Torah and mitzvahs, or would he say, 'Whoever God hates, I will hate too,' and sever relations and never want to see her again?" The Rebbe continued, "Of course, he would say his own daughter is different. As it says, 'Do not remain oblivious to the plight of your relatives.'" The Rebbe's expression became serious. He banged on the table and he said, "In God's eyes, every Jew is as dear and precious as an only child. To my father-in-law, every Jew is a relative who cannot be ignored." The Rebbe then looked at me and my father penetratingly and said, "We will conclude with a blessing. It is known that all Hasidim celebrate the 5th night of Hanukkah. The reason is because the 5th day of Hanukkah can never occur on Shabbos. This represents a great darkness. The 5th candle that symbolizes the great light of Hanukkah, which can illuminate even such an intense darkness. This is the duty of every Jew, wherever he may find himself, be it in New York or Toronto or London. Every Jew is a part of God above, his only child. When you illuminate his soul, then even the farthest Jew in the darkest place can be awakened." My father was so taken aback and shocked to hear these words again, that he didn't hear the rest of the blessing of the Rebbe. He didn't even remember leaving the Rebbe's room. All the way back to Toronto, he kept muttering to himself, amazing, most amazing. 10 years passed. In 1978, my younger brother got engaged to a girl from London. Just minutes before leaving our house to fly there for the wedding, our neighbor, a highly respected member of the Satmar community, came in and asked to speak privately with my father. He confided to him that his daughter had forsaken Judaism and burst into tears. He and his wife didn't know much about it in the beginning, as she had hid it from them. But 2 weeks ago, to their great embarrassment and dismay, she ran off with a non-Jewish boyfriend and fled to London. All their efforts to locate her were unsuccessful. He asked my father, since he was going to London, to try to find his daughter and save her. My father, who was a close friend of this neighbor, was terribly shaken by this story. I was also distraught and began thinking about what we could possibly do about this situation in London. My brother's wedding was a joyful celebration. On the first night of Sheva Brachas, the week of festive meals, my father told his new relative this story and asked his advice. The bride's father told my father that he himself had no idea what to do, but he recommended a Lubavitcher friend, Rabbi Avraham Yitzhak Luk, who had accomplished many missions for the Lubavitcher Rebbe and had helped many lost souls throughout Europe find their way back. They immediately called him. Rabbi Gluck promised to do all he could. He called the girl's parents in Toronto for any particulars of information and clues on how to locate the girl. My parents remained in London for 12 days. One day during Hanukkah, Rabbi Gluck called, "Come quickly, I have a nice surprise for you." My father hurried to Rabbi Gluck's house. When he came in, he saw a girl sitting in the living room crying profusely. Rabbi Gluck had located the girl and she wanted to return with them to Toronto. As my father looked around the room, his eyes fell on the kindled menorah. It had 5 burning candles. He felt faint as he recalled the Rebbe's words to him from 50 years ago and from 30 years ago and from 10 years ago. The 5th candle symbolizes the strength of the menorah light. The role of every Jew is to light up the darkest place in Warsaw or London, in New York or London, in Toronto or London. If his daughter were to stray from Judaism, for God, every Jew is an only child. For my father-in-law, every Jew is a relative who cannot be ignored. The girl returned to her family and to Judaism. Needless to say, from that day on, this zealous neighbor stopped speaking against Lubavitch. When my father returned to Canada, he felt a strong desire to see the Rebbe again, but by this time it was even more difficult to get a private audience with the Rebbe. It wasn't until the following Tishrei in 1980, my father succeeded in joining a group audience with the Rebbe, along with all the guests who had come to the Rebbe for the holidays. When his turn came to pass by the Rebbe, he could not speak and he burst out crying from great emotion. Finally, he briefly told him the story. The Rebbe commented, "Der Schwer hat ein ferner Blick." My father-in-law had great foresight. Every time my father retold this story, he would marvel over the wondrous miracles of the Rebbe. 50 years ago, when he was a bridegroom, the Rebbe saw what would happen 50 years later. But even more, he could not get over the modesty of the Rebbe, who attributed everything to his father-in-law's foresight. The chain of miracles did not end there. My father passed away on the 14th day of Kislev, 1988, following the celebration week of my eldest daughter's marriage. Thus was fulfilled the Rebbe's blessing that he would rejoice at the wedding of his grandchild. It was exactly 60 years to the day since the Rebbe's wedding in Warsaw.
Is that foresight or is that prophecy? I'm not sure what the difference is. Is there a difference?
We can't call it prophecy for sure, but
Okay. But it's very impressive foresight.
it's very impressive foresight.
These people know that. That story about the Baal Shem Tov. And a very rich man used to go visit him once a year and give a huge amount of tzedakah. And one day the Baal Shem Tov gave him a letter. And he said, would you do me a favor when you get back to your town? Give this to the clerk in such and such an office. And he said, sure. Put it in his coat pocket and he forgot about it. He started to lose his fortune slowly until he got to the point where he was selling his clothes. And of course, before he took something to sell, he would check the pockets. He found that letter. It was 20 years later. And it said, this man is destitute. Please help him in any way you can. And congratulations to your newborn son. So the clerk read that letter. He said, I wasn't here 20 years ago. I just got here relatively recently.
Great story.
And my son wasn't born 20 years ago. So the Baal Shem Tov knew these things also. That's a famous story. I read that, so I'll never forget it. How did he know that guy was going to lose all his money? And, you know.
So we'll discuss an adjacent theme to this, partially related, and that being dreams. So because we have Parshas Miketz here, and once again, it's all based on dreams. So and so once again, we can ask ourselves, not only from this story, but so what is the nature of dreams? How important are our own dreams? And what does the Gemara have to say about this? So, but to set that up, let's just take a look at the beginning of the Parsha, Miketz, and where the Paro is struggling with his own dreams. So it happened at the end of 2 years to the day. Paro was dreaming that, behold, he was standing over the canal, when, behold, out of the canal there emerged 7 cows of beautiful appearance and robust flesh, and they were grazing in the swamp. Then, behold, 7 other cows emerged after them out of the canal, of poor appearance and gaunt flesh, and they stood next to the cows on the bank of the canal. And the cows of poor appearance and gaunt flesh ate the 7 cows of beautiful appearance and robust. And Paro awoke, and he fell asleep, and he dreamt a second time. And behold, 7 ears of grain were sprouting on one stalk, healthy and good. And behold, 7 ears, thin and scorched by the east wind, were growing after them. Then the thin ears swallowed up the 7 healthy and full ears, and Paro awoke, and behold, a dream. Rashi says, and behold, an entire dream had been completed before him, and he required interpreters for it. And it was in the morning, and his spirit was agitated. And so he sent and summoned all the necromancers of Egypt and all its wise men. Pharaoh related his dream to them, but there was no one who could interpret them for Pharaoh. Then the chamberlain of the cupbearers spoke to Pharaoh, "My transgressions do I mention today." Pharaoh had become incensed at his servants and placed me in the ward of the house of the chamberlain of the butchers, me and the chamberlain of the bakers. We dreamt a dream on the same night, I and he. Each according to the interpretation of his dream did we dream. Let's remember this because this actually tells us the Torah's views of dreams, this one statement. We dreamt a dream on the same night, I and he, each according to the interpretation of his dream did we dream. Right there, we have what the Torah thinks about dreams. And there with us was a youth, a Hebrew, a slave of the chamberlain of the butchers. We related it to him, and he interpreted our dreams for us. Each in accordance with his dream did he interpret. And it was just as he interpreted for us, so did it happen. Me he restored to my post, and him he hanged. So Pharaoh sent and summoned Yosef, and they rushed him from the pit. He shaved his hair and changed his clothes, and he came to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said to Yosef, I dreamt a dream, but there is no one who could interpret it. Now I heard it is said of you that you hear a dream to interpret it. Yosef answered Pharaoh, saying, that is beyond me. God will respond to Pharaoh's welfare. Then Pharaoh said to Yosef, in my dream, behold, I was standing upon the bank of the canal, and behold, out of the canal there emerged 7 cows of robust flesh and beautiful form, and they were grazing in the swamp. Then behold, 7 other cows emerged after them, haggard and of very poor form and of emaciated flesh. I have never seen anything like them in all the land of Egypt for poorness. And the emaciated and poor cows ate up the first 7 healthy cows. They came inside them, but it was not apparent that they had come inside them, for their appearance remained as poor as at first. Then I awoke, and I saw in my dream, behold, 7 ears of grain were sprouting on one stalk, full and good. And behold, 7 ears of grain withered, thin and scorched by the east wind, were growing after them. Then the thin ears of grain swallowed up the 7 good ears. I said this to the necromancers, but there was no one who could explain it to me. Yosef said to Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh, it is one. What God is doing, he has told to Pharaoh. The 7 good cows, they are 7 years, and the 7 good ears, they are 7 years. It is one dream. Now, the 7 emaciated and poor cows who emerged after them, they are 7 years. And the 7 emaciated ears scorched by the east wind means that there will be 7 years of famine. This is the matter that I have spoken to Pharaoh. What God is doing, he has shown to Pharaoh. Behold, 7 years are coming, a great abundance throughout all the land of Egypt. Then 7 years of famine will arise after them, and all the abundance in the land of Egypt will be forgotten. The famine will ravage the land, and the abundance will not be known in the land in the face of that subsequent famine, for it will be terribly severe. As for the repetition of the dream to Pharaoh 2 times, it is because the matter stands ready before God, and God is hastening to do it. All right.
Now I see what you've been trying to say all along, I think. That dreams don't tell you what's doing with the dreamer, they tell you what God is doing. Like, this is all stuff God is doing that even if it involves these people, but through them and through their dreams, God is saying what he's going to be doing, especially in these types of dreams where it isn't just relating to one person, it's a whole situation that's happening, of which they're just one of many players. Like, like I thought that's what you were meaning when you said this is how the Torah treats dreams, that dreams are God conveying what his plans are, not his reflecting on what a human's plans are.
Okay, so
If I'm wrong, please correct that.
yeah, that's not exactly what the Gemara says, so we'll go through that. Okay,
You
so
have to be able to interpret it correctly. It's each one's interpretation of their dream. And they have to be gifted with the insight to be able to interpret it correctly, which was the case with Joseph.
but it wasn't Joseph, it was God giving the interpretation,
but
giving the
Joseph
interpretation
interpreted.
of the dream. No,
Huh?
it was God giving the interpretation of the dream. That's the key thing.
How did he give it?
Huh?
How did he give it to Joseph?
What?
So Joseph was a prophet.
So Joseph's talent was simply being able to hear what God was saying.
Right. So
He could hear God's voice, or it was symbolic.
no, it's not symbolic. And
Well,
okay, but let's unpack this. Okay. So the pasuk said before, we dreamt a dream on the same night, I and he. Each according to the interpretation of his dream did we dream. So we dreamt. Good evening. We dreamt a dream on the same night, I and he. So this is redundant. Why do we need? So it says we dreamt a dream on the same night. That would have been enough, right? It says I and he. So there is a thought in the Gemara elsewhere that the clearest and the most significant dreams are coming in the early morning, and so because it's closest to Daphne, no?
Yeah, I think so.
Right. So we dreamt a dream on the same night, I and he. And because so the I and the he is there to tell us that these dreams were there in the morning, and that they are significant dreams. However, it goes on and it says, each according to the interpretation of his dream did we dream, negating what was just said, meaning the I and he part, meaning that the important thing is not the dreaming itself. The important thing is the interpretation. That is going to be the point of the Gemara. And so Yosef can interpret a dream because God is telling him what is happening. So, but it is the interpretation of the dream that makes it true in reality. It happens according to the word of the interpreter. It's not the dream in the end. So let's take a look at the Gemara in Parshas, and we'll just go through this quickly. But there is a fairly long discussion in Parshas about dreams, fairly long and exhaustive. and it sets out some clear principles with, I must say, a lot of contradictions. So because the end of the discussion then in fact has a lot of like potential elements of dreams and what these should mean. This is a little contradictory of the Gemara, because okay. So but generally the question before us is how should we look at our own dreams? Right? And we're not Yosef, right? And the Gemara is going to come back to our parsha and last week's parsha a lot. Okay, so Rav Chisda said, "Let one dream any dream, but not a dream of fasting." So, and there are two ways to think about that. A dream in which a dreamer is portrayed as fasting is a bad omen, or if you're fasting, then you can attribute the negative content of your dream to the bad experiences you're having from fasting, right? So the Gemara is saying, let one dream any dream, but not a dream of fasting. If fasting is involved with your dream, let's forget about it. So, Rav Chisda said, a dream that has not been interpreted is like a letter that has not been read. That as long as one has not yet imputed an interpretation to his dream, that dream portends neither good nor evil. This teaching is based on the dictum set forth later by the Gemara that all dreams follow the mouth. That is, the meaning and portent of a dream is influenced by the interpretation ascribed to it.
So the outcome is going to be the way I interpret my dream. So I make it, I create the outcome through my interpretation.
Yes. Yeah.
Huh.
Right, and so we the idea is also that we need to control our thoughts. We have to always be on guard against atzmos, against depression, and so dreams have the potential to lead us to depression. And that's why we're going to see various procedures that are going to guard us from that. Some of which you know. So from Birchas Kohanim, for example, from the blessing of the Kohanim. So, okay, but okay, so, but already we're saying that that a dream that has not been interpreted is like a letter that has not been read, and we say this because all dreams follow from the mouth, and that it's the interpretation that gives the dream its importance. And Rav Chisda said further, a positive dream is not destined to be fulfilled in its entirety, nor is a negative dream destined to be fulfilled in its entirety. So we saw that in last week's Parsha. Yosef dreamed about the brothers and the mother and his mother and father bowing down to him, but it was already impossible that dream could be fulfilled because Rachel had already died. His mother was already gone. So the Midrash says that they were talking about Bilhah, who raised Yosef like her own son, but yeah, still, as we're going to see, the Gemara itself talks about this. Okay, And Rav Chisda said, as for a negative dream, its sadness suffices for it. As for a positive dream, its joy suffices for it. So, in other words, it's not the portent of the dream at all that's important. It is the negative experience is already serving its purpose. It's scaring us to be righteous. It's scaring us to do good. And conversely, a positive dream is already fulfilling its purpose. It's making us feel good. Now, one thing that we see here is that, and this is going to become clearer now, is that there is some importance to dreams being channeled here from above. How this is happening is another question, but we're okay. But let's continue, and we'll see how this is so. And Rav Chisda said, seeing a negative dream is worse than receiving a lashing, as it is written, and God has acted thus that man stands in fear of him, concerning which Rabbi Bar Chana said in the name of Rav Yochanan, this refers to a negative dream. So that is the purpose of a bad dream, is to frighten the dreamer into repenting. God acts thus so that man stands in fear of him. So God is using dreams to get us to behave properly, or even to reward us. It seems that if the essence of the positive dream is the dream itself. So, as for a positive dream, its joy suffices for it. Right? The joy that we get from the dream, that's the reward that we're receiving. A related teaching, a verse states, the prophet with a dream tells a dream, but the one with my word speaks my word of truth. How can the chaff be compared to the wheat? Thus says Hashem. Now, what relevance is chaff and wheat to a dream? Why does the verse make a connection between these things? Rather, Rabbi Yochanan said in the name of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the verse implies the following: just as it is impossible to have wheat without chaff mixed within it, so it is impossible to have a dream that imports meaning without some senseless matters mixed within it. That is, even a meaningful dream is a mixture of wheat and chaff. The dream mixes meaningful elements with nonsensical flights of imagination. So to the point where in another place in the Gemara, it says that a dream is 1/60th of prophecy. So that the rest is up for grabs. Rav Berechia said, a dream that portends a future event, even though part of it may be fulfilled, all of it will not be fulfilled. We said this before. Now, what is the source for this? From where do we know this to be true? From the scriptural story of Yosef and his dreams. For concerning Yosef's dream, it is written, and behold, the sun and the moon, etc., and 11 stars were bowing down to me. Now, in this dream, the sun and moon were taken as a reference to Yosef's parents, and the 11 stars were taken as a reference to his 11 brothers. The dream foretold then that Yosef's father, mother, and 11 brothers would eventually bow down to him. Yet at that very moment that Yosef dreamed this, his mother was no longer alive. Hence, the complete realization of the dream was an impossibility.
Mm-hmm. Could they bow down to him from heaven?
No.
Just asking.
They're
You can't
they're
bow
out
down
of
a
it.
body.
They're out of the game. They're out of the game. They're on the bench. So no, they're out of the game. You can't come back into the game once you've been taken out. So it indeed came to pass that Yosef's father and brothers bowed to him when he became viceroy of Egypt, right, in next week's Parsha. But Yosef's mother, Rachel, had died many years earlier as she was giving birth to Binyamin. Thus we see that even a dream that does portend the future contains some inaccurate elements as well. The Midrash asserts that the moon appearing in Yosef's dream corresponded not to his biological mother, but to Bilhah, Rachel's maidservant, who raised Yosef as if he were her own child. Our Gemara apparently rejects this interpretation, perhaps because it seems that even Bilhah died before Yaakov met Yosef in Egypt. That's a good one.
Say that again.
So our Gemara apparently rejects this interpretation, perhaps because it seems that even Bilhah died before Yaakov met Yosef in Egypt. So she wasn't there to bow down either.
When you say a dream is 1/60th of a prophecy, or when they say it, whoever said it, like, does that mean 1 out of every 60 dreams is a prophecy, or does it mean every dream 1/60th of it is a prophecy?
Right. And so, in other words, it's going to be pretty hard to sort this out.
And do dreams vary? Like, could one dream be much more prophetic, whereas another dream is just an ordinary, like, regurgitation of the day before's events?
All right, we'll go through them.
Okay.
Yes, is the answer. Okay. Okay, so from the fact, here's an interesting one that we just read. How old was Yosef when he was sold?
17.
17. How old was Yosef when Paro pulled him up out of the dungeon?
29.
Close.
Wasn't he in the dungeon for 12 years?
30. He was 30. So when he was pulled up.
30.
So we just had that. Yeah, maybe we didn't read it yet, but it's here in our Parshas. I didn't continue.
So apparently Pharaoh believed that Joseph was credible, even though he interpreted the dream. But as far as Pharaoh was concerned, it hadn't happened yet. It was just, but he believed Joseph.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't read that part of things for us. So, but let's do that right now. So what I said.
No. Hold on.
What I said was we ended, as for the repetition of the dream to Paro 2 times, it is because the matter stands ready before God and God is hastening to do it. Now, let Paro seek out a discerning and wise man and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Paro proceed and let him appoint overseers on the land, and he shall prepare the land of Egypt during the 7 years of abundance, and let them gather all the food of these approaching good years. Let them amass grain under Paro's custody for food in the cities and safeguard it. The food will be a reserve for the land against the 7 years of famine, which will come to pass in the land of Egypt, so that the land will not perish in the famine. The matter appeared good in the eyes of Paro and the eyes of all of his servants. And Paro said to his servants, could we find a man like this? Could we find like this a man in whom is the Spirit of God? Then Paro said to Yosef, since God has informed you of all of this, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be over my house, and by your command shall all my people be sustained. Only by the throne shall I outrank you. Then Paro said to Yosef, see, I have placed you in charge of all the land of Egypt. And Paro removed his ring from upon his hand and put it on Yosef's hand. And then he had him dressed in garments of linen, and he placed a gold chain upon his neck. And he had him ride in his second chariot, and they proclaimed before him Avrech. And they appointed him over the land of Egypt. Okay, there it is. And Paro said to Yosef, I am Paro, and without you no man may lift up his hand or his foot in all the land of Egypt. Paro called Yosef's name Zaphenath Paneach, and he gave him Asnas, daughter of Potiphar, chief of On, for a wife. Thus Yosef emerged over the land of Egypt, and Yosef was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Yosef left Pharaoh's presence and he passed through the entire land of Egypt. Okay, so he was 17 when he was sold. He was 30 when he was brought before Pharaoh. So there we have 13 years, right? So we have to so let's put the question is the realization of the dream, okay, which we're not going to get to until next week's Parsha. Okay, because let's listen to what the Gemara has to say. We have these facts already. So of the time when Yosef initially dreamt his dream, as it is written there, these are the chronicles of Yaakov. Yosef at the age of 17 years. We see then that Yosef was 17 when he saw the dream, foretelling that his family would bow to him. And it is further written in Yosef, it's further written in our Parsha, so this last one was last week's Parsha. And Yosef was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh. We know then that Yosef was 30 when he was brought before Pharaoh to interpret the monarch's dreams. Now, how many years are there from age 17 to 30? 13 years. And we must now add to this 7 years of plenty as well as 2 years of famine. For it was not until these additional 9 years elapsed that Yosef's father came to Egypt and prostrated himself before Yosef. We have then a total of 22 years that passed before Yosef's dream was fulfilled. And that's why the Gemara says a person may reasonably hope for the realization of a positive dream for as long as 22 years.
In other words, that was the longest limit that you could go until...
That's the longest limit. Uh-huh. So from where do we know this? From the precedent of Yosef, for his dreams were not fulfilled until 22 years had passed from the time he had first beheld them.
So it's not like someone else could come along and they did it in 23 years. That's how do we know? We know that that's the longest limit we know of in these stories.
This is what the Torah.
So the Torah says that.
We're learning this out of the Torah, right? So,
Yeah, the rice, I think.
I'm sorry.
The rice, I think.
Right, it's midoraisa.
The rice.
You don't mess around with those things.
Yeah, you know.
Right. No.
All right.
So, okay. All right. Let's try to get this. Yeah, good. Okay. So another principle pertaining to dreams. Rav Huna said a positive dream is not shown to a good person, and a negative dream is not shown to an evil person. Rav Huna's statement is corroborated. This was also taught in the Brisa. All the years of King David's life, he did not see a positive dream, and all the years of Achitophel's life, he did not see a negative dream. The Gemara questions the principle on the basis of a different verse, but concerning the rewards given to a righteous person, it is written, "No evil will befall you." And in expounding this verse from Psalms 91:10, Rav Chisda said in the name of Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba, this is a blessing that neither negative dreams nor evil thoughts will confound you. The verse then proceeds to state, nor will any plague come near your tent. And this is a blessing that you will not find your wife in a doubtful state of nida when you come home from a journey on the road. In any event, it is clear from this teaching of Rav Chisda that if a righteous person is spared the experience of negative dreams, this is deemed a blessing for him. If so, Rav Huna's statement that righteous people are rewarded with negative dream vision seems difficult. So in recognition of this problem, the Gemara amends Rav Huna's statement. Rather, Rav Huna means the righteous person himself does not see the negative dream. Instead, others see a negative dream concerning him. So where are we then? A tzaddik isn't even seeing negative dreams, right? He's only seeing positive dreams, but the but we're going to say that he's not even remembering those dreams. He just has an experience of a positive dream, which we've already established is a reward. So, but the tzaddik himself does not see a negative dream. Okay, so then what about the tzaddik's conduct, right? We've already learned that negative dreams are important because they're going to keep us on track. Then after a negative dream, we're going to strive to not do any bad stuff.
Is it the tzaddik doesn't have the negative dream, or he may have it, but he doesn't see the negativity in it?
No evil will befall you.
Meaning that he doesn't even have the dream to begin with.
He doesn't have it.
Okay.
Right. So, so Rav Huna means the righteous person himself does not see the negative dream. Instead, others see a negative dream concerning him.
In their own dreams, you mean?
In their own dreams. And so they're going to talk about their dreams to the tzaddik, and the tzaddik is going to know that he better watch his step. So, so the Gemara questions further, but if the righteous person does not himself see negative dreams, as you have just stated, is it really any advantage to him? For since he does not see these negative dreams, and as is implied, he does not see positive ones either, then it would appear that he experiences no dreams at all. Yet surely Reb Zera said, whoever sleeps for 7 days without having a dream is called wicked, for it is stated he will rest sated and not be visited with evil. Do not read savea, sated, the accepted vocalization of this word. Rather, read it as if the word were pronounced sheva, 7. Now, if a failure to see any dreams is a sign of a wicked person, surely a righteous person would experience some dreams. The Gemara responds, rather, this is what Rav Huna means to say. A righteous person does see dreams. Instead, he sees positive dreams, but when he awakes, he does not have knowledge of what he saw while he had been asleep. Okay, and this is, in the end, the following conclusions are reached by Rav Huna. A righteous person is not plagued by personally seeing negative dreams. B, nevertheless, he is the subject of ominous dreams dreamt by others, and these are meant to increase his vigilance against slipping into sin. And C, he is not in the category of wicked persons who see no dreams at all. Rather, he does see some dreams, positive ones at that, but he forgets them before he wakes. So he does not become complacent. Okay, so, and that is a tzaddik. And that is what we strive to be. So where dreams only have a positive connotation.
Would it be correct in terms of, am I saying what you just said, if I put it this way, that like the tzaddik doesn't need to be rewarded by dreams because he's spending his whole life doing mitzvahs and he gets rewarded by the life consequences of his mitzvahs. He doesn't need to his dream life to supplement what's lacking in his life, because nothing's lacking in his life.
Nice. Okay, so the Gemara is going to shift gears a little. And offer words of advice to one who feels troubled by a bad dream. So Rav Huna bar Ami said the following in the name of Rav Pedas, who in turn said it in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, one who sees a dream and his soul is distressed about it should go and have it interpreted in the presence of 3 people. And this, by the way, is halacha l'maaseh. Mm-hmm. So this is what we are supposed to do. This is almost word for word the Shulchan Aruch has taken this over. So the Gemara questions this, should he really have the dream interpreted by these people? But surely Rav Chisda said a dream that has not been interpreted is like a letter that has not been read. That is, as long as it has not yet been interpreted, a dream carries no portent at all. Thus, if one feels his dream might bode ill, why have it interpreted and risk giving veracity to an adverse omen? The Gemara responds by amending Rav Huna bar Ami's statement. Rather, say it this way. If one is distressed by a dream he has seen, let him remedy the dream in the presence of 3 people. The Gemara proceeds to detail exactly how he would do this. Let him bring 3 people and say to them, I have seen a good dream, and let them say to him, it is good and it may be good. May the merciful one transform it for the better. May it be decreed upon you 7 times from heaven that it be good, and may it indeed be good. The Gemara next lists a series of verses that the assembled person should say to the one who experienced the dream, and let them then recite 3 verses of transformation, verses whose theme is transformation from tribulation to joy, 3 verses of redemption, and 3 verses of peace. The Gemara lists each set of verses respectively. Okay. The 3 verses whose theme is peace are, okay. So, in other words, then if somebody has a dream that's disturbing him, he's supposed to go to 3 friends or 3 rabbis, but better 3 friends, because the purpose here is to get consolation and comfort. And so the friends are supposed to recite these 3 verses of transformation, redemption, and peace. So to set the mind at ease. It's not a question of trying to understand the content of the dream. We don't want to even go there, it seems, at this point. So, likewise, we have another procedure. So this one is going to be more familiar to everybody, because this is what we do in Birchas Kohanim. So, Ameimar, Mar Tzutra, and Rav Ashi were once sitting together. They said to one another, let each of us say something that his colleagues have never heard before. That is, let each person teach the others something new. One of them began the discussion saying the following: he who has seen a dream but does not know what he has seen should stand before the Kohanim at the time that they spread their hands to bless the congregation during the prayer leader's repetition of Shmoneh Esrei, and he should recite the following supplication: Ribono shel olam, Master of the universe, I am yours and my dreams are yours. I have dreamt a dream, but I do not know what its meaning is. Whether I have dreamt a dream about myself, whether my companions have dreamt a dream about me, or whether I have dreamt a dream about others. If these dreams are good ones, strengthen them and fortify them like the dreams of Yosef. But if they require healing, because their portent is menacing, heal them like you healed the waters of Mara through the hand of Moshe, our teacher, and like you healed Miriam from her tzaras, and like you healed King Hitzkiah from his illness, and like you healed the waters of Jericho through Elisha. And just as you transformed the curse of the wicked Bilam into a blessing, so may you transform all of my dreams regarding myself for goodness. And the person should time his recitation of this supplication so that he finishes it together with the Kohanim as they conclude their blessing of the congregation, so that when the congregation responds Amen, they affirm both his supplication and the blessing of the Kohanim.
Wait, so they say it like at the same time?
And so that's why That's why the Kohanim do a nigun in the middle to give us time to say all of this. Yeah, that's why. So then everyone's going, everybody's under their talus, and then you hear all of this mumbling. Yes.
So what are we supposed to mumble under?
Yeah,
the
we're mumbling exactly. Ribono
These
Shel Olam.
lines, okay.
Yeah. It's really in the Siddur. So for Birchas Kohanim every time. So
We haven't had a Kohen here, so people have not been familiar.
right.
But a repetition Shmoni Esrei, the person that's leading the prayer it has to be a Kohanim to
It
say the
has to be a
Birchas
Kohen.
Hamazon.
Has to be a Kohen.
Has to be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now the Baal Tefillah, he actually leads the Kohanim, right? He's calling out,
Okay.
and they're repeating after the Baal Tefillah, but no, the Kohanim have to do that. Yeah. And we're not looking at them. So because the energy is too much for us to.
You're not supposed to look at the Kohanim at this time.
You're covering yourself with your talus. The kinderlach are under their father's talus. It's very beautiful. Okay, but once again, then, we don't want to lend any credence to our dreams. We want to, and if they're bad ones, then they should be good. Hashem should treat these dreams so like he treated the curses of Bilam and turned them into blessings for the good.
Or haven't you always said that what we call horrible things, which in some level are always critical lessons we needed to learn, which is why Hashem directed those things to happen. And so you could say a bad dream is just like a bad world event.
Right. Okay. We have that. So we know that if we've dreamt a bad dream, we better watch our behavior, right? But we shouldn't assign too much importance to it, because we can't wade through this anyway. And because it's not the dream, it's the interpretation. That's the important thing. It's the interpretation that gives all of this any semblance of reality. And so it makes sense then that prophets receive their prophecy through dreams, but these are prophets who can interpret their dream. They have Ruach HaKodesh, so they have divine spirit, and they know how to interpret. That said, the Gemara then later is a little contradictory, because it goes through a long passage of just giving indications.
Hundreds of examples.
Right,
It's
hundreds
almost
of
tedious.
examples of what different things can mean in dreams. Right. So, okay, so there then, let's just pick up with the Maharsha, who is one of the greatest, later day commentators on the Gemara, and he breaks dreams down into 3 types. So let's consider these. The first type of dream is one that has no single objective meaning. Rather, it carries a multiplicity of potential meanings. For example, one may see a certain image in a vision, for example, lettuce. And that image may be simultaneously associated with several potential events. For example, bitter experiences similar to the bitter lettuce leaves, or doubling of business profits, like the doubling over of lettuce leaves. As long as the dream remains uninterpreted, the actual meaning of the dream remains undetermined. In this respect, the dream remains, as it were, like a letter that has not been read. Its contents are meaningless to someone who ignores them. Interpretation, though, activates the potential meaning noted by the interpreter. Hence, once one seeks an interpreter and that person gives an interpretation consonant with the dream, that aspect of the dream's meaning is buttressed and can move from the realm of the potential to the actual. Okay. The second type of dream consists of a vision that, objectively speaking, does have a particular portent. It has one basic meaning, either positive or negative in nature. However, even dreams in this category can be influenced by interpretation. The positive meaning can be mitigated or perhaps reversed by negative interpretation. Examples of such dreams include the vision of a well. Although having an objective positive connotation, for example, peace, can nevertheless be transmuted negatively if, for example, the dreamer contemplates an ominous scriptural verse pertaining to wells. And the third type of dream described by Maharsha is one which has true prophetic import. That is, its essential meaning is absolute and cannot be swayed by interpretation. It was this type of dream that Rava characterized as being delivered by angels. Examples of such dreams give the prophetic, are the prophetic visions of Yosef, foretelling that his family would eventually bow to him. Okay, okay. In the above discussion, Maharsha characterizes dreams having some element of prophetic meaning. It goes without saying, though, that there are other dreams which are nothing but the imagination's flights of fancy and carry no prophetic import whatsoever. Such dreams are discussed later when the Gemara speaks of dreams in which the dreamer sees a vision connected to events he was thinking about during the day. So, going to be very, very difficult to interpret dreams. And basically the good advice of the Gemara is, or the Eitzah, really the good suggestion that the Gemara is making is better not to deal with it. So don't go there. It was positive. It should be positive. Okay, but one thing is clear, that an outgrowth of the position of the Maharsha is that a verbalized interpretation can affect the import of a dream. To support this somewhat counterintuitive notion, Maharsha cites Talmudic sources that impute real power to speech, notably the dictum that one ought regard with gravity words of blessing extended to him by even an ordinary, unremarkable person. So, al tihi birchas chedyot kala benecha. So in a similar vein, Rashba calls attention to the scriptural admonition not to articulate a curse against another person. If mere words truly have no import, such a curse should be meaningless and not be forbidden. Rather, these sources support the notion that words can influence spiritual aspects of reality, a position apparently taken by our Gemara as well. Yeah. So, but that also means that we have tremendous responsibility when we're doing this. So if we're going to go there.
Well, when we learned about mitzvahs and sins, thought, speech, and action were the three main ways that we can move in the direction of doing sins and mitzvahs. The more even having the thoughts has consequences, speech has even more, because people hear what you're saying, actions have even more. So if we're doing sins or mitzvahs, that's how we do the sins and mitzvahs. So if dreams, or at least to some extent, are communications from God to the dreamer, whether or not we understand what they're saying, then like whether we do sins or mitzvahs with direct communications from God, it multiplies how powerful the effect of the words and the thoughts and the actions would be. Like, so we, as careful as we have to always be, I guess it makes sense, like, since this one is straight from above, or at least sometimes it is, like, you gotta even be more careful when you're dealing with dreams and responding to them.
Straight from above, except we've got to keep in mind that the tzaddik isn't remembering the positive things that he's dreaming.
But his dreams are still coming from above. He just doesn't need them anymore because he's doing what he needs to do in the real world.
Or maybe he doesn't really care. He doesn't really have a point of view like watching it.
At least the negative dreams. I mean,
Right. But then it's the other people bring them the negative dreams through their dreams, and how they speak with words then has a huge, like, even how they phrase what they're saying has a huge impact.
But it shows that still the dream is no significance at all in a sense. So it was the words that make things happen.
Right.
So
It's
still
the
the dream
interpreter.
is still is zero in all the situation.
But in the examples you gave, when people came to him and said, look, I had this dream, I'm concerned about you, I think the tzaddik would listen to his friends when they're saying it. So he just doesn't pay attention to his own dreams, but he would, if they're saying, look, like, Rabbi, I got this
Right,
dream,
right, for
he would
sure.
listen to them
For
very
sure, he's got-
seriously.
and because he's
So
gonna
he's
take
not
that very
dismissing dreams
seriously,
across the board, he just doesn't need to tap into his own.
right. Okay. Now, if it's the mouth that gives the dream its meaning, if it's the interpretation that gives the dream its meaning, then what was Yosef doing? Then, I mean, Yosef, what was Yosef doing with the chamberlain of the bakery, with the baker,
Oh wow.
right? He died.
But he was telling the truth of how God's own interpretations.
But not
Okay, but that's
Gemara says
the
the other
no,
one.
but that's right. That's so these we can only say that this wasn't Yosef. This was God that was giving the interpretation, right? So, but that this was Yosef was a prophet. He was receiving Ruach Kodesh to give the proper interpretation, as he himself says in the Parsha.
So by saying that God was giving the interpretation, it's as if, like the prophet will say, thus saith the Lord. Is that what you're saying?
That Yosef could have said something like that. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
How is there a way to relate to sometimes the signs we receive or might receive during the day relate to signs we receive in our dreams? And like, is there, it might be like a more really like deep, long question, like answer, but is there?
Well, we're being cautioned about what type of signs we should be seeing in our dreams at all. Because our dreams are going to any dream is going to contain a large degree of nonsense. And whether we can really sort through this, the Gemara is skeptical about. And would prefer that we just put that aside. So, and instead view, I guess, the general character of the dream as reflecting the purpose of the dream. If it's positive, then that serves. Then it made you happy. If it's negative, then it's warning you to behave.
You say that the dream has one of what? of prophecy. How much?
160.
60.
60.
160. So it's Beetle prophecy.
That is that ratio.
The best thing I've heard online. It's been the prophecy.
Another sense is saying there's nothing. There's nothing.
Right.
We're not
That's
transferring,
basically
we're
what it's saying.
transferring interpretations.
In all the way. This is all the way to say that it's
This is a casher's principle, Rachel. That, so nullified in 60 parts. If you have, it's a basic. If you have one part forbidden food and good night, Jerry.
Good night.
And 60 parts. 60 parts permissible food, then the one part is nullified in the permissible food, and it's as if it doesn't exist. So Esteban is saying that it's as if the prophecy is completely
You could
nullified.
write a book called Kosher and Dream Interpretation.
I would say dream interpretation, that and that's all. Anything else there.
Right. I mean, that's for sure not a coincidence, right? That
I don't know.
in some ways, that is the point. Okay, but we haven't exhausted things. As I say, the Gemara does move on to talk and give lots of examples of what different things in dreams might mean.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, but
So is this the source for all the dream interpretation books? Source out of this Gemara then?
yeah, this is one of the main Gemaras.
That's why I'm going through it painstakingly to memorize each thing.
Yep. All right. So maybe just a few minutes on the Yosef story in the context of the succession of the Bechira. Since the very beginning of Bereshis, we see that Hashem's looking for a spiritual leader of mankind, and various people are candidates but fail. And finally, Avraham Avinu comes, and his emunah is so tremendous that Hashem sees that this Avraham should be the spiritual leader of mankind, right? So then he has Yishmael, and Abraham is questioning Hashem. So, but yeah, my Damascus servant, my servant from Damascus, he's going to inherit me, and so here comes Yitzhak. Hashem then gives Yitzhak the Bechira. The Bechira always has two elements: offspring and the land, right? So that your offspring is going to inherit the land. So Abraham had received this several times. The last time at the covenant between the parts. Then Yitzhak received this himself. Then Yaakov receives this himself. But now we're in with the Shvatim, and so here we're in with the Shvatim, and so they don't know how the Bechira is going to work out. Right? Who is going to get the Bechira? So who's going to get the right of succession to be the leader of Klal Yisrael? Right? So we have Reuven as the Bechor. He's the firstborn, and he messes everything up, right? By interfering with his father's bed, meaning by sticking his nose into his father's marital business. Yeah. So boom, he's out as the Bechor. Then here comes Yehuda. Yehuda potentially is so he's the second born, so he should be the leader, but then look at how he leads, right? Why was he even with Tamar? Why was he away from the brothers? Because the brothers didn't want to have anything to do with him after the sale of Yosef, because they blamed Yehuda for not leading more strongly. Had he led more strongly, then they wouldn't have gone as far as they went. So, and that's why he wasn't with the brothers in the episode when he was with Tamar. So, and then there's the episode of Tamar, right? So, I mean, come on. So, he does redeem himself there a little bit, and somewhat he showed, at least he stopped Yosef from being slaughtered, right?
That's something.
That's something, but still, not what we expect of a really good leader, right? And okay, with Tamar, then he stopped her from being burned at the stake. So Yehuda himself still has to redeem himself, and that's the mastery of these stories, that we see each person failing and then going about trying to redeem himself. Okay, but we can ask the question: why is it that Yosef, he becomes viceroy of Egypt, second in command? So Pharaoh gives him his ring, so that he can sign and he has authority to do anything. How is it then that Yosef doesn't place a long distance call to Yaakov to tell him, hey, I'm the viceroy down here, come down here? Yeah, Dad, hi, it's me. It's been a long time, but come on down. So,
he has to figure out if he can trust his brothers.
Your son, you get a lot of nachas from your son down here. I'm the viceroy, Dad. I'm the viceroy, right? But none of this happens. And so, how can we explain this then? What was Yosef thinking?
I'm guessing he's thinking, I have to see if I can trust my brothers and my family before I decide how I want to deal with them.
Okay, but how can he not? So if he thinks for one moment that his father thinks that he's dead, how can he let him continue to think that for 1 second?
Because for the same reason that Abraham chose to have his alliance with God to be more powerful than his blood bond with his son, and he was willing to sacrifice his son if he thought God was telling him to do that, Joseph wants to do what's right by God and not just like favor the father-son bond, and either as his son need his father to know he's okay, or even reassure his father, because serving God comes first.
Right, that would be part of the explanation, but not as you're employing it. Not from Yosef's side.
Okay.
But it's for the teshuva, right?
If he told them, there's a chance that the father might get mad or upset with the brothers. I wonder if he considered that.
What do you mean, Bill?
If he told the truth to his father,
I see what you mean. So,
his father
and
might
he-
get upset that
with the brothers.
that they misled, or
Okay, but Yosef doesn't know any of these things. He doesn't know that the brothers misled the father. Right? He doesn't know anything. From his point of view, these Midianim came, they lifted him out of the pit, right? And and the brothers then sold him away. Yosef doesn't even know that the brothers were thinking about killing him. So instead, let's just, we don't have to. We can think about this and develop it later, but instead thinking about the succession question, which all the brothers are aware of. Right? Everybody knows that this Bechira process exists, And so, and everybody knows what's at stake. That's how we can explain the whole behavior of the brothers against Yosef, right? And justify it to some extent. Because they thought that Yosef was trying to usurp this leadership role.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see.
Never mind, he was the most qualified to do it.
But not in their eyes, because he was telling Lashon Hara
Right.
to at that point. So he was behaving badly. And this treacherous, conniving little kid then is trying to take over such a serious position. And has to be stopped because this is...
That was their perception of reality.
Right, that was their perception. Right.
So he's
So-
trying to test which one is going to be the one that's going to get the hearers.
He was trying to test.
Maybe.
You mean as to who the father would choose?
Okay,
Or which
all right,
deserve in a sense.
that's something that we have to think about. So, in terms of like what Kalman was saying before, so what plan does Yosef have here? So is he testing the brothers? No, I see what you mean. Which is what Kalman was saying before. And okay, but let's just stick with the question of why didn't he contact his father? I mean, so the answer has to be one, that he doesn't think that his father thinks he's dead.
He just doesn't know where he is.
He doesn't know where he is, but from Yosef's vantage point, he doesn't even care.
Oh, yeah. I could
Because
see that.
because from Yosef's vantage point, then maybe the father thinks that the brothers were right,
Oh, wow.
and that Yosef didn't deserve the Bechira.
Oh, really?
And so because even as hard as it would be for Yaakov to give up on his favorite son, so for purposes of the Bechira, then he would do that, like Kalman was saying.
Interesting. I never thought about it.
Well, wouldn't Joseph have missed his father, and as soon as he was able, as soon as he was out of prison, got in touch with him anyway? Well, that can't be the because if he's down there, then the Midianim are they're traders, they're going to go back and forth all the time. Yeah, these Ishmaelim and the Midianim. So it wouldn't be so, they know where he is, in a sense. They know that, they know that they were taking him down to Egypt. If he really, from Yosef's point of view, if Yaakov really wanted to find Yosef, he could have found Yosef. He could have?
Yeah.
Why didn't he?
Why didn't he? Because Yaakov thought he was dead.
They brought his tunic with the blood on it.
Right, the brothers.
Didn't you say that that was from Joseph's perspective?
Right.
Okay,
So
I got you.
from Yosef's perspective, then it can't be that Yaakov thought that Joseph was dead, because otherwise Yosef would kibud av ve'em do everything possible to help his father there.
Well, so Joseph didn't want to shock his father.
No, and so
Here I am, Dad,
no, so Yosef then is thinking that his father must agree with the brothers, that Yosef is a stinker, and that basically from Yosef's point of view, Yaakov sat Sheva over this guy, who was misbehaving, and that was it, and he washed his hands of him, and that was it.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that could be part of it.
All right, so
But he finally did send for his father, because he only agreed. How did he coerce his brothers into bringing his father? They didn't know who he was yet.
right, all right.
Well, he says when he reveals himself to them, the first thing he says is, "My father's still alive," right?
Right. Ani Yosef Oda Vichai.
Uh-huh. So then, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely positive.
Because I'll remember. You can go if you want the question.
Well, let's not argue about it.
All right. No, it just reminds me, like, maybe he was trying to move forward because, for his higher purpose. And it kind of reminds me of this, like, shiur I heard where, or it was something about Eli Sharabi, like, when he found out what happened to his family, he wrote in his book that all he could do was move forward. Like, he went to the graves, he mourned, but then he moves forward. So, like, maybe it was because he didn't know, he just wanted to, fulfill whatever Hashem's mission was for him and not take any chances. I don't know. Or maybe if he, like, found out something happened to his father, it would distract him too much and he just wanted to, like, I don't know. This is like taking guesses.
That's as good as any. But there's got to be some interpretations here, some commentary by the sages about this.
Right. So no, I mean this
So
question. This question isn't mine,
we
and
can
this
speculate.
answer is not mine.
What?
So this question's not mine, and the answers aren't mine. This is what the Meforshim say.
I can't hear you.
This is what the commentators say.
What?
What we've been discussing.
All these different things?
The question and yeah.
So there's no real consensus here?
Yeah, there is consensus that Yosef did not think that Yaakov thought that he was dead.
And Joseph just wasn't he was a little aloof. He was just attending to his chancellorship. And,
No, Yosef thinks
good life.
that Yaakov is that Yaakov agrees with the brothers that Yosef was inappropriate to be the leader of the tribes.
So why wouldn't Joseph want to correct that?
Because he also respects the Shvatim as being tzaddikim. So, and accepts the din.
Well,
Accepts
then why did he
the.
do it anyway? Then 2 years later, why did he finally do it? Apparently, he must have changed his mind or something. Or it was part of
Right.
They
So
showed
that's-
they were different.
So we have to work our way through on Shabbos. We'll work our way through, and what Yosef is actually doing with all of these tests of the brothers from this perspective. Because if he thought that his father thought that he was dead, then how could he let his father suffer for 1 second more? He would not do that. Right? He would be there. So,
One thing that supports what you're saying, I never thought of it from this angle before, but not only was Joseph profoundly traumatized when, like, his brothers, like, throw him in. We didn't get this one tape. No, that he really had a sense that, like, all of his brothers, that's like a lot of people, like, were unanimous in feeling he had done something horribly wrong.
Right.
And so to just go, well, if 11 people feel it, like, probably number 12, my dad probably does too, if I've got the numbers right.
right.
Like, it's not a big jump to go from if 11 feel that way, then 12 would.
Right.
Like, it wasn't just some of his brothers are really upset and the others are saying, no, leave him alone, he's fine. Like, all of them were saying something wrong has happened here, and we're just differing in just how severe a punishment there should be. And so for him to jump to, gee, Dad may not approve of me like I thought he did, is not a very big jump.
Right.
Those are very good.
Thank you.
Really?
All
Did you
right.
bring them?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay. So we'll leave it there, and we will work over Shabbos on what Joseph's master plan really was.
Yeah, because
Sounds good. Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Lila Tov to everyone.
Lila
Be
Tov.
safe.
Well,
Wait, let me